No, I'm recording.
Me too.
How is it driving in the snow?
It drives surprisingly well. Like,
You have the all-wheel drive, correct?
yeah.
Right.
All-wheel drive, performance. Yeah, it's anchored, like, it's glued to the road even driving through
Yeah,
the snow.
I mean, even when I test drove it, the thing felt like you ain't gonna get this thing to flip,
Yeah.
or anything. Well, that's good news because I was, like the one I was thinking about getting was the rear-wheel drive because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But then you think about a rear-wheel drive normal car in the winter in Minnesota.
Yeah,
People don't like it usually.
right.
Throw some sandbags in the trunk.
Yeah, because it's sort of a stigma with rear-wheel drive, but the advantage of an electric car with rear-wheel drive is that the weight distribution of the battery is more 50-50 than maybe 80-20 in a normal car.
Yeah, because
of the big heavy engine in front.
So it's got a lot of power in that engine. It's not something a battery can take over.
Yeah. Nope.
No, that's completely untrue.
Yeah, it's
pound for pound.
It's the power band of a regular car is like this, and the power band, full torque at 0 RPM in an electric motor.
Yeah.
It's
stupidly fast.
You wouldn't want to go back.
Yeah.
I drove what I thought was my dream car to test drive the Tesla 2 years ago.
And your dream car was the Camaro.
Yep, I had a 2010 Camaro.
Which is a beautiful car.
Yeah, it was an awesome looking car. Yeah. But I drove it to test drive a Tesla. I hadn't even had it a year yet, and I went to the test drive, and after we were done, I walked back up to my car, got in, I was like, this sucks now. It just ruined it for me. So
Tesla's basically destroyed American muscle.
There's no competition. Yeah.
So here's something I did think about. That I was just playing with the idea in my head one day, because I think we were talking about something with cars at work. Anyways, what would it take to get Tesla into NASCAR? Just for the idea of just having it. I'm assuming, because I'm trying to remember how many miles it's around the tracks. Because I'm trying to think about how they would refuel those batteries in time. Because, with a regular car, you can just, put more gas in.
Sure.
A lot faster.
So I would have to imagine...
Unless you were just swapping out batteries.
There would have to be a battery swap, I would think. But there is something called the Formula E. They do, like... Formula One cars, with all the crazy fins on them, and they're super low to the ground. And there is that happens. It's getting more and more popular. I'm not sure what they do for the battery pack though. But Tesla's Roadster will be able to go 600 miles on a full charge.
Yeah.
And that'll be even more blisteringly fast than my car is.
Yeah. Maybe that's the ludicrous speed.
That'll be maximum plaid.
Yeah, because I would imagine Tesla, in that starting gate, everybody starts off and Tesla's just like, just shoots off. I know that they go really fast in those NASCAR cars, though. They're like going over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if Tesla can do that.
The Roadster will have a top speed of over 250 miles an hour.
Oh, well, that's okay. So it wins no matter what you do.
So that's sort of their, to quote Elon Musk, he says it's a smackdown to the Halo gasoline cars. It's just throwing down the gauntlet and saying, like, we're going to take your number one spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they've seemed to, they're proof of that they can do it. It worked. And I'm assuming from what I hear that they're now pretty profitable.
Yep.
Now that their assembly line is moving at a good speed.
yeah,
Um,
they can comfortably make 5,000 Model 3s now a week, which is really what they're one of their many goals.
Yeah.
But this they're able to sit at comfortably and make 5,000 cars and not work crazy overtime or anything and turn a profit.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember you talking to Uncle Larry about that. He was thinking that the thing was just a whole ruse,
Yeah.
But that was back when they were having trouble with their assembly line speed and.
Yeah, I mean
It's now the top selling car in America, isn't it?
yeah,
Model
it's
3?
and not just electric. Like I think it's number 4, the 4th most popular vehicle, or sedan maybe it is, but
It's probably
it is outselling the Nissan Leaf, the Prius. It's more popular than the Prius right now.
Yeah.
Like in a couple of years, the Model 3 will be what the Prius is today.
Now, hopefully, this will force all these other guys like Toyota, Nissan, to be like, oh shit, we gotta boost this thing up and make it look better.
Yeah.
Because I've always disliked the look of most electric vehicles.
Yeah, they made them ugly. They really didn't put any effort into them.
It feels like they were making them so that nobody would buy them almost.
Yeah.
'Cause it'd be like, well, here's our attempt at electric car. And everybody's like, it doesn't look very good. Gas mileage is okay, or mileage is okay.
Yeah. They were fine for in-town driving and commuting to work and back.
Yeah.
Tesla really sort of pioneered, like, it's possible to take a Tesla on a road trip
Yeah.
anywhere. Like, I'm going.
But it takes an Elon Musk type character because he
right.
what other companies, let's say Toyota, if they were making a Prius and they were going to make a giant battery in it like the Tesla, would they go out and start building stations to charge across the country? I feel like they would not.
No other company is doing that, and that's really what the biggest thing I feel that sets Tesla apart. Because even if they, you mentioned earlier, like before we started, Volkswagen making a Tesla killer or whatever. The thing is that they're missing a piece of that puzzle, and that is the supercharging network.
Yeah.
If they don't have that, that makes their cars less appealing. So even if they make a super cheap car that can go 200 miles on the charge, and if it's $5,000-$10,000 cheaper than a Tesla, you're still limited. That's the limiting factor. Is you don't have.
Because you can only go that far away from your house,
Right.
or from a plug-in.
So driving something like a Volt. Like I've tried to find charging stations with that car, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do. And luckily, it has a gas engine backup, but
And they probably don't have that Tesla feature where they show you where the stations are.
No, they don't.
And they probably
They don't have navigation unless you pay
Yeah.
for it. It's a subscription.
Yeah.
Tesla just comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the other day, I went to go pick something up that was outside of my car's range because it was super cold out. And your range takes a hit in the cold, which is, that was expected. So anyway, I hit navigate home, and it routed me through the supercharger and then home. It told me how long I had to stop. Just stop here for 20 minutes. It's like, all right, I'll grab lunch.
Yeah.
Right before I stop there, and then while I'm charging, I'll sit there and eat it. It was like, it really didn't feel like I was waiting. Like I wasn't waiting for it to charge. I was just eating lunch.
It just takes a different mindset
Right.
adjustment.
Instead of like stopping to get gas and then stopping somewhere else to eat,
Yeah.
you maybe stop somewhere, grab your food, and then go to the charging place. And a lot of them are, they're very accommodating. Like this one, the one in Clearwater, the one I visit the most just because it's on the way to my parents and stuff, but they've got like restrooms. It's sort of a restaurant, gas station, bakery, sort of.
Kind of like a rest stop in a way.
Yeah, it's just all built into one, and it seems like they're, to varying degrees, obviously not all of them will have all the features that you might want, but they really, I feel like they've done a pretty good job trying to place them in decent spots.
Sure.
So it definitely,
Because that once you hit the critical mass, I feel like once he starts, because he's putting up new ones every week.
mm-hmm.
That's from what I remember. If once they become as common as like a gas station, I mean, it's almost like, what's stopping you?
Right.
Besides, you young kids and
well, and the thing is too is like, the thing to remember is they don't necessarily have to be as common as a gas station.
Yeah, that is true.
Your main gas station is in your garage.
Yeah.
So.
Because that's the thing, yes. You know, it'd be nice if you get home and be like, what's the cost of gas today? I don't know, because I got a gas station at my house.
Yeah.
You know?
Cost me maybe $1.
Yeah.
To get, to fill up my battery, rather than $50 to fill up my Jeep. So.
Yeah.
It's. And that's sort of the mindset a lot of people. And you can't really blame them. Like you were just used to that. That's all you've ever known is I got to go to the gas station.
Yeah.
But that's just, it's sort of a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And you just gotta think differently about it. So.
Think of all those jobs we're losing, those gas station attendant jobs. Because they're going to lose those people. This is more just
I know.
spitballing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine the argument against it. Be like, well, we can't do this because we're going to lose jobs. Like Trump said, we got to keep clean coal because we don't want renewables because people are going to lose their coal jobs.
Right. Well, the argument against that, I would argue that okay, well, there are more solar jobs than coal jobs.
Sure.
And like.
People like to not have to change jobs, which is understandable. Nobody wants to do that.
Right. Yeah, and it takes a certain amount of luck, and maybe like if and foresight to try and pick the right field, I guess.
Yeah.
But as far as like gas station attendants and things like that goes, who like.
I don't think there's going to be.
There'll still be convenience stores.
Yeah.
Like there'll still be. I feel like there will still be that aspect. It might take on more of a lounge setting, maybe like a coffee shop or something.
Sure.
Because you have to sit there a little while longer than you do for gas. And so I don't think that'll go away in its entirety. It'll just sort of evolve with the new technology.
Sure. Yeah. Which is, I mean, I love it all.
Yeah.
Like, even when it's combined with, let's say, where he's continuing to push the transportation industry with his hyperloops and all that, with his boring company. Like if you needed to go somewhere fast, and then there was like a hyperloop next to you, you could just take a 200-mile trip in a couple. I don't know how long it takes, but
yeah, it's another way to add. He said he wanted to add a third dimension to travel.
Yeah.
Without having to fly in the air, because if it fails, you fall and bad things happen.
Yeah.
But if you dig down, that's still adding a third dimension of the idea, and it allows to spread people out and and travel at insane speeds.
Insane. It's fascinating though.
Yeah.
All that. Plus, if you can take your Tesla into that thing, because that's the one where you drive your car into it and then it goes onto a platform. And then
Yeah,
there's just a train one. I can't remember.
There are two ideas there. One is the Hyperloop. That's the that's like the vacuum chamber train.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the name of the other one. I think it's just the loop or something, I guess.
But then when it looks like you lock your car into
Yeah.
this platform and
It looks like
pulls you.
yeah, it's like a big truck bed, but there's
Yeah.
no truck in front of it. It's just
It pulls you along.
yeah, and it's just like a big cart that hauls your car down the road or down the tunnel at insane speeds.
Yeah.
Um,
Which sounds cool.
yeah, that's a genius idea because it as far as autopilot goes, like that's a stepping stone. Because if you do that, it's like your car's on a rail. It's a lot easier to guide a car if if it's like on
Especially with traffic.
Right.
'Cause you don't have to worry about traffic. But it's all on a track, and so I'm assuming by computer. And I know people probably would hate that. Be like, I don't want a computer telling me how fast I can go, but the whole idea of traffic fatalities in this country and how many happen daily can all be just deleted.
well, not
mainly.
Yeah, I mean they'll significantly lower,
Yeah.
but and that's sort of one of the issues that will come up with like self-driving and all this
Yeah.
is that who's going to be to blame when an accident does happen, because that number will never reach zero. Like that's
Well, it's like unemployment, or you don't want it. Technically, you can't get it to zero in a way, 'cause,
right, but getting it closer to zero, and that's why like it's really difficult to figure out who's to blame in those instances, because the first thing people tend to do is like even if the accidents dropped by a factor of 10,
Yeah.
like there's 10 times less accidents. The accidents that do happen, people are gonna still say that wouldn't have happened if I was driving.
Yeah.
Or if they were driving.
Naturally.
Yeah. And so I feel like that will still be a lot of resistance to the idea. Because you can throw facts and figures at people all day, but they're not going to listen to you if they're the ones affected by somebody getting hurt.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of I guess you could say like a casualty of progress.
Sure.
The idea is to just minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah. Especially when you add among now you're able to go to the bar and drink, and you don't have to worry about driving drunk home.
That's the most common thing I think I was asked when I got this car.
Yeah.
It was like, well, so you're gonna just sit in the back seat? And it's like, well, maybe one day, but right now, if I got pulled over, I'd still be brought to jail. But yeah, that's sort of like.
Or if you had a long commute to work, you can just get in your car and take another nap, or eat your breakfast, or do whatever you want in the car while your car is doing the work for you.
Write a presentation or whatever. Yeah, it's and not only that, but you could send your car like. Nowadays, like your car spends 90% of its time sitting, not doing anything. If you were to drive it to work in the future, near future, you would get out and tell it, okay, go be a taxi for the day, and it would make you a supplementary income.
Yeah.
Like that's an insane idea, and it's really within reach.
Yeah, especially
lifetime.
With all the Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Except obviously that the self-driving part is still being worked on, but it'll get there.
Yeah. The awesome part about these cars is that it comes with all the hardware to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's again, that's
Which is
future-proofing your
which
fleet.
is fantastic about this car is that you can, if something new comes up, it's like, oh, now I got to get the new model.
Yeah,
And it's like, nope, all I just need is a software update,
yeah,
and now you can have it.
yeah. Like, check your phone. Oh, hey, look, I'm going to get dash cam and navigation on autopilot and advanced summon in this update.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you wanted that, like you said, in any other car company, you'd be like, well, now I got to buy next year's model.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your car gets better the longer you own it.
So that's really turning the car industry on its head, because that's the way they made money, is by incremental technology increases, a little bit every year, so that every year they can sell a new car instead of having you see, here's a car, you can have that for a long time, and it's still gonna have new stuff all the time.
And that's sort of a way to justify the bigger price up front. At least it was in my mind. It was like, look, I'm gonna have this car for a while, and the fact that you're able to get those updates over time, and like you're not gonna. And obviously, like if hardware needs to be changed to accommodate some new feature, like it's not going to happen for every update to the car, but the vast majority of the updates are software.
Yeah.
And like even if the next iteration of the Model 3 like has more cameras or something, or has more features, they'll still work on features for this model as well. Like Autopilot 1 cars are still getting updates.
Yeah.
Still being made better. So, and yeah, no other car company would do that. They wouldn't dare do that.
You don't want to destroy that bottom line.
No. So, yeah. Sticker price on these cars are kind of a shock, but I feel like they're the amount of disruption that they are causing is, I don't know. To me, it's worth that just by itself, and then you get all these extra perks.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really nothing in the car that's like, oh, this is a bad idea. No, it's like, oh, this was engineered to be functional and cool.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, why? You'd want this in your car, wouldn't you? You'd be like, yeah, I would.
I never even thought of that, but, or, they show you this, you're going to want this in your car. No, that's not true. And then you get in, like, oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Like autopilot, like everyone freaks out and you tell them, well, the car's driving itself right now. I just have my hand on the wheel mostly for show, sort of watching the car drive us.
Yeah.
And people really don't like that idea, but like, look, the car, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get road rage, it doesn't get, it doesn't get distracted by its phone.
Yeah.
It has more eyes than I do. It's a better driver than I am, on the highway.
For most things right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Well, like the monotonous highway or freeway driving, like it's better at it than I am, because
It's constantly watching.
yeah,
All the lines, the people around you. That was what a great feature where you can see on the dash all the cars that are around you.
yeah, and sort of it's a way for you to keep an eye on it to make sure it sees what is actually there.
Yeah. And that whole Easter egg where you can turn all the cars into
Reindeer?
Reindeer, that's
Yeah.
what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that aspect is great. Plus, I mean, I didn't even know about it until I got into your car to test drive it. The regenerative braking. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's like a one of those genius ideas that everybody always talks about, but nobody ever implements it because it's probably difficult to.
Yeah.
do
Well,
that, where it's just like recharging your battery while you're braking.
yeah. Well, I think that's it's definitely inherent to electric cars.
Yeah.
It's I would argue it's a necessity for to sort of get every last ounce of efficiency out of your battery, because that's really the shortfall of battery technology isn't where it probably should be. Like it's definitely the energy density could be better.
Sure.
Um,
Fortunately, how far we've gotten today, we can probably thank smartphones for that.
yeah. Yeah, and Tesla's battery technology, like they're on the cutting edge as well as far as
So yeah,
lithium.
I feel like they're kind of, with the size of batteries they're using, they're kind of pioneers with this, because they've got huge batteries and they last a long time, as opposed to this cell phone battery, which maybe will get you 5 years maybe before it'll start not charging
Not
very well.
even that. It'll most like, yeah, cell phone batteries, like they take a beating though.
Yeah.
You charge them to 100 and you drain them down to 0 every single day. Lithium batteries don't really like that. The ideal range is between 20 and 80%. I actually did an experiment on my phone with that, where I wouldn't charge it overnight, and I would do my best to charge it up to 80 and then unplug it and then sort of do that throughout the day. And I would say, I mean, it's sort of an anecdotal
Sure.
evidence, but
Sure.
compared to my other phones, like, it's definitely, I would say there's a little bit of a difference, but
I mean, it does make sense because it's the way it's built.
yeah, it's
You know.
with like the plates inside are fragile. When they charge up to 100%, they get hot and they expand, and then as they expand and then contract when they cool down, like that, just that little bit sort of
Because it
wears
wears
them
down.
and it cracks them, and then they're not as they can't, the energy density goes down.
Yeah.
So
So we need to get on this hydrogen fuel cells.
no, we don't. No, that's
Is that just a pipe dream from my movies that I've seen?
no. I mean, so they work. I wouldn't argue that they don't work, but they're not. It's sort of like taking the scenic route to get to the same spot.
I see.
Like, so you're using electricity to make hydrogen out of water, and then you're using that hydrogen to generate electricity to run your car.
I guess I never thought about that.
Why not
way.
just use your...
There's a lot of, because I'm assuming through all those steps you have waste
Yeah.
at every stage.
You know. Well, yeah, because every transfer of energy, you're converting it.
Yeah.
And so if you do that more times, you get energy loss, and because no transfer of energy is 100%.
Yeah. Heat loss and
it's very energy intensive to get hydrogen out of water.
Yeah.
And so
it's like desalinization
Yeah.
techniques. It just
you can do it, yeah. You can definitely do it, but it's energy intensive, and it's not ideal. And so I mean, I've heard Elon Musk's argument with this too. He said hydrogen fuel cells are kind of dumb because of that. And that's not to say they don't work, but and again, people are worried about. People are so they hear about one Tesla battery fire, and they're like, oh, see, it's going to explode, and they drive around with a giant bomb in their trunk of gasoline,
and cars blow up all the time.
And hydrogen is that, but it's pressurized.
Yeah.
And so if that explodes, it explodes. It
Yeah.
doesn't just go up in flames. It blows your car apart. It's under very high pressure.
Yeah.
And so, and the energy density isn't there either. Like you'd basically have to take up the whole capacity of your trunk to get maybe 100 miles of range.
For right now.
For right now.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do that, it just, to me, it makes more sense to get an electric car.
Yeah. Well, I won't argue with that one. Um, but it's along those lines, you've seen it, and I've seen it in science fiction movies.
Well,
They've
and
got that cylinder, and it's like, we need more fuel cells.
yeah,
Or just pull them out
yeah.
to power the spaceships.
Well, hydrogen fuse. I mean, those are a little different, but and they exist. Like that's the thing. Like, there are hydrogen vehicles that exist today. You could probably buy one, but where are you going to refill it? I know of one. And
7-Eleven won't do that.
Yeah, one is, and it's in California. I'm sure there might be several in California, but that's pretty much it. Like, whereas again, the infrastructure you'd have to.
I wonder how much it would cost to recharge a hydrogen cell, as opposed to just using the charger for Tesla. You plug it in and it just takes it from the grid.
From the existing grid. That's another thing that people don't realize is like it's not to get too sidetracked, but like to install a gas station is very labor intensive. You need to dig up, or even a hydrogen station.
Yeah.
Let's say you have to establish all of this specialized infrastructure to store it, to haul it, and that's sort of the thing that people don't take into account. They say that producing an electric car is worse for the environment than producing a gas-powered car. Just manufacturing it
For dollar.
Yeah, and the cost to the environment and this, that, whatever, like the CO2 emissions for producing a new car. And that's true. Like electric cars right now, if produced by traditional means, it's slightly more of a carbon cost than a regular car. But it more than makes up for that over its life. And so one thing people don't take into account with that is, they say it still runs on coal. Even if you plug in to a grid supplied outlet,
Yes.
you're getting your energy from natural gas or coal most likely. And so, but even if that is the case,
Yeah, because even if that was, like you're probably going to say, like if the coal plant shuts down, you can still get electricity from other ways.
right? Well, what I was going to say is so the difference is, instead of driving around with your own personal power plant underneath your hood that wasn't designed to make heat, it was designed to turn chemical energy into mechanical energy to make you go forward, and it's terribly inefficient at that.
What is the percent? Is that like 25?
If you're lucky, it's
Yeah.
most cars are probably like less than that.
Yeah.
Maybe 15 to 20% efficient for trucks. Maybe slightly better than that for cars.
Yeah. The internal combustion engine is not the most efficient.
No, it loses for every dollar you put in. Think about that. For every dollar you put in, you're losing 80 cents to heat.
Yeah.
20 cents is making you go forward. Whereas an electric car,
But it's so cheap, Rick. It's so cheap. Per gallon of gas, it's so cheap.
yeah. And so, like going back to my analogy, so your personal power plant underneath your hood,
Yes.
it's not supposed to, or it wasn't designed to make heat. Whereas if you take a coal power plant, was designed and engineered to make heat. That's what it does. That's what it's good at.
Yes.
It makes heat to boil water
To turn
on
a
a
turbine.
turbine.
Yeah.
That's its job. And so you're burning things to do what the primary function of burning things is, and that's to produce heat. And so a coal power plant is immensely more efficient in producing electricity than your car is at producing mechanical energy to make you go forward.
Yeah.
And so, so getting your energy by traditional means with an electric car, you're still getting the equivalent of, say, 50 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. With the option to use solar panels and hydropower and all that. So, That's a big myth that a lot of people would argue against electric cars with.
And I feel like they take any little thing and they explode it. Like I just when you were talking about it earlier, just be like, I forget, but like they'll just some little thing and they'll say, "See, this is why this isn't going to work."
Right.
Even though it probably would benefit everybody immensely. Like, okay, here I got one. The tax credit. You know what I'm saying? That's $7,000, at least $7,500 for right now till the end of the year. I've heard it used like saying, you know, like, oh, you can get your Tesla for cheap now. It's like, well, that's because it's being subsidized by the government,
Yep.
and they use that as a negative, and it's like, do you know how much shit is subsidized?
Right. Gas is subsidized.
Yeah.
Oil is subsidized.
Corn.
The whole automotive industry in the U.S. was subsidized. They were bailed out from going bankrupt.
You know.
Tesla is one of the companies that didn't go bankrupt. Ford is the
I'll say
only one.
Ford was the only one that didn't.
Yeah.
And
And
everybody else was.
like, if they really want to make that argument, like, don't, because it doesn't work. You know, if you're going to argue that Tesla's getting subsidized, first off, I'm paying that money in, and they're giving it back to me.
Yeah.
The taxpayer is getting their own money back. If they don't pay in $7,500, they don't get $7,500. They get whatever they paid in. So that's one argument against it. Another one is just the health costs alone from burning fossil fuels is not paid for by anyone,
Right.
other than person suffering from lung cancer or, you know, emphysema,
Yeah.
what have you. That's not a cost taken into account. So they're effectively getting a subsidy in that regard, along with getting millions of dollars in government subsidies for oil, because they're a sort of too big to fail type setup.
Socialize losses, but privatize the gains.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. And so that argument, along with like, oh, you don't pay taxes on the road for when you get gasoline because you have an electric car.
I mean, that is a point.
It's well, in Minnesota you pay that tax up front when you buy the car, and you pay it subsequently when you get tabs.
Yes.
I believe that's when you get tabs, but I know for sure it's been put into. It's been suggested as a law, at least, in the Minnesota Congress, that should be a thing. I don't know if it passed or not, I guess, but and I'm more than happy to do that. Like I don't feel like it's unreasonable to say, hey, you use these roads, you should pay your share. I'm not trying to skirt any payments there. But again, if people really felt that way, you're totally allowed to get an electric car too.
Yeah.
Like, no one's stopping you from doing that and taking advantage of that. You know, so,
Yeah. Because I'm sure they take advantage of a lot of other tax loopholes.
Yeah.
And
And so that's a loophole that the average consumer could take advantage of, whereas an oil company, all of their loopholes are strictly for them.
mm-hmm.
Like the ethanol thing, they get to add 10% ethanol to your gas, so they get to charge you the same price for 90% of the product.
Yes, and they get the cheap corn.
Yeah, and ethanol's waste product.
Mm-hmm.
It's just.
Well, it's for
3M makes ethanol as a byproduct of some of our processes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You might have to edit this out. I don't know if that's proprietary, but so yeah, like that's it's probably not proprietary. But anyway, like yeah, like we have waste ethanol that we just have.
Well, for the corn industry, I know is heavily subsidized because we pay farmers to make it and to not make it, and we put it in everything. And it's because that's why it's cheaper. I mean, that's when all the soda companies went from sugar to corn syrup, because corn syrup was cheaper because it was subsidized by the government.
Yeah, and like the argument of let's get rid of all subsidies, fine, but let's get rid of all subsidies,
Yeah.
not just for the electric car. Like if you were to get rid of all the subsidies, you'd pay significantly more for gas,
Yeah.
and the electric car would probably be more appealing without subsidies.
Yes.
If you were paying $8 a gallon for gas,
Like you're.
like Europe and everywhere else in the world,
Yeah.
like it's ridiculously cheap to get gas here. You know,
Fortunately, we make a lot of it ourselves because I know Europe can't really because they don't have
sure.
they don't have Alaska or Texas.
Yeah, but even but even if it stays cheap for the next like it's gonna run out one day.
It
Like,
will.
We need to figure out.
It's not sustainable.
No. That's probably the biggest argument. Is just the economic factor. Is that like, look, we need to.
But we need to make money now. We don't, in 100 years I'll be dead. So that's the mentality that we have.
That's my kid's problem.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the whole, like you mentioned, the economics of it's right in front of you. I mean, we know we take it out of the ground. It's not infinite. It's like gold. You can't. There's not an unlimited amount of gold. It's not an unlimited amount of diamonds or coal.
Right. And technically speaking, there's not an unlimited amount of sunlight either. But for all intents and purposes,
I see what you're saying.
Like,
Because we will run out in a couple billion years.
yeah, yeah. Before then, our oceans will boil away and life will be inhabited
Yeah.
on this planet. But like that's kind of just being difficult.
Yeah. So because I'm all for subsidizing the solar industry because that needs to be improved.
Well, subsidizing emergent technologies that will benefit.
Yes.
That's been proven to work. Like it accelerates the adoption and the naturalization of it into society. That's a thing that works.
Yeah. Because to me, it's along the same lines as having a Tesla, where it's like, right now, I have my electric bill and I got my gas bill, for my car. It's just what everybody does. It's normal. But now if you get a Tesla, now all of a sudden you don't have to pay for gas anymore. You just have to pay for a little bit of electricity. And let's say you throw some solar panels on your roof, and all of a sudden now you don't have to pay Xcel Energy $80 to $150 a month, depending on the month.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, I'm getting all this energy for free, and
they pay you for the excess.
Yeah, or you just keep the money you're not spending now, and now you can spend it on something else.
Right.
Like more taxes,
or more disposable income. You can if you want to argue for the whole free market side of it, like you're not beholden to having to pay these bills. You can spend money on other stuff.
I always feel like when I was growing up, I felt like you would get in trouble for getting off the grid.
And like, in some states you can, like,
because that's when I've been
charged for that.
I've been heard because like if you get off the grid, they charge you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can't do that because we're all part of it.
We depend on you. If you do that, we're screwed.
Which tells me that they probably push some laws into to the local congresses, and
there's definitely lobbying going on there.
Oh yeah.
I mean
that's another topic. Money out of politics.
Yeah.
And all that.
But yeah, so there are many arguments that go along those lines, but they're sort of strawmen.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Like they're not attacking the actual position. It's the cardboard cutout of it.
It's don't disrupt my way of life, because right now life is pretty good, which it is. Being an American right now is pretty nice. You really don't have to worry about much. It's just as long as you have a job and you can. I mean, not all jobs.
Well, no, but that's another topic, I guess, because of late, I guess you could say I've been worrying a little more, but that's
well, yeah.
that's politics again.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, it is nice to not have to worry about what most people in the world have to worry. Like, you know, most people in the world that don't have heat or indoor plumbing, like that's sort of something we take for granted. But yeah,
because of technology.
yeah. And going back to an earlier point, like people are scared of newer technology. The same sort of thing happened at the turn of the century with regular cars.
Oh yeah.
And horse and buggies.
I've always wanted to just go back and just research all of this shit, or every time something comes out, because I have a couple examples. Like that is one of them, was when people were just horse and buggy and somebody brings along this gasoline car and it's loud and noisy and dirty and
it's an emergent technology.
Everybody's like, what is this? We have all this industry about making, or having horses and feeding the horses, all these industries that rely on people buying horse and buggies. And all of a sudden this car comes, like, all you need is this gasoline. You can go a lot longer. You don't have to worry about it dying. Well, it'll die on you,
Yeah.
But it's a simpler process.
Well, what happens if the engine blows up? What happens? Where are you going to get all this gasoline if you drive down the road 100 miles?
Yeah.
Where are the roads?
Yeah.
The infrastructure wasn't there.
Yes, that's a big thing, because you're like, that was back when it was just dirt roads or just well-worn paths through the grass.
Yeah.
It's like, well, these cars can't do anything because it's on dirt. It's like, well, we got to make roads. It's like, who wants to pay for that? Nobody wants to pay for that until they were forced to with taxes. Because everybody was buying cars. And another one was the automation of the elevator, because there used to be a guy sitting in there. And his job was to do this. Where are you going? Up, down, up, down. Automated. He lost his job, and that's a big one.
Can we really trust people to push these buttons and get it right?
Yeah. How do we know that it's going to take us to the right floor?
Yeah.
Those little things, people always worry about disrupting the status quo.
And blaming the internet for the fallen libraries type thing.
Or blaming Netflix for us losing
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's one left. That's what I hear.
It's sort of those are the rules of the game, though. Like, that's progress. That's the free market.
Yes. Yeah. So right now, I feel
the free market.
How long has Tesla been around making cars? So when did the S was first, right? Model S.
The original Roadster was first.
Oh, the Roadster. That's right.
The Roadster started in 2008. That was their.
So
2008.
So in 10 years, they brought the price down to $35,000.
Well,
in a way, like
so, to be accurate, currently it's 46,000.
Right.
But yeah, that's the. They've.
But that's for the mid range. We still have to wait for the
short range.
The short range.
Yeah.
But the idea is, it only took. Where's it going to be in 10 years? You're going to have a Tesla that costs less than $30,000. I'm assuming is what they're shooting for.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, because everything, the prices come down. Usually, I feel like car prices keep going up every year though, for traditional cars.
Well, another thing to consider with that is a lot of people probably won't own cars in the future.
But yeah, and that's the other big thing, is with automation.
If you can request a Tesla just with an app on your phone.
Because even with the generations coming up right now, because like when you and I came up, once we turned 16, you got your license. I got mine when I was 16. I'm sure you did. You're like, I want to drive a car.
Yeah.
For some reason, there's probably reasons. Kids aren't wanting to drive as much anymore. Like they're waiting.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot more.
Well, it's definitely. I feel like part of that is probably a cost. Cars are expensive.
Yeah.
My brother's finding that out. Like,
oh yeah.
It's not buying the car that's the expensive part. It's keeping it roadworthy.
Yeah.
That's expensive. And electric cars will help that because they don't. There's less things to break.
Yeah.
But overall, like they're an expensive they're an ongoing expense.
Yes.
So.
Let alone oil changes.
Yeah,
And
like
gasoline
that's
and-
like why do that when I can just like pay someone pennies compared to those type of costs to just drive me, and then they incur those costs and I go on my way.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely a practical way to look at things, and I feel like that'll become more popular over time.
Yeah, well, so I guess what I was getting at was, let's say in another 5-10 years, I'm pretty sure Teslas are going to be a lot more prevalent on the road. I mean, I've already seen them a couple. Now I know someone that, I literally know somebody who has one. And once you start seeing them more, they'll come around to it. It's kind of how things go. Because the technology is proven. It's feasible. It's relatively affordable.
Not only affordable, but it's like the cost, the true cost of ownership over the life of your, like how long you own it. It's, if you crunch the numbers, it can be cheaper than a traditional car.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's really why it's sort of exploding now, is because it's reaching cost parity with a traditional car. Granted, it's still, you'd still have to look at like BMWs and Audis and that to get a really to make it easier to crunch the numbers in favor of a Tesla, but it's no longer the six-figure cars that it was.
I was saying, because what combustion engine car for $50,000 can get you 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds?
Right.
I don't think you can do it.
Well,
maybe
5 seconds, yes. 4 seconds, it's harder to do. 3 seconds, no. No, are you kidding? 2 seconds, supercars don't even do that. Like,
so what's your list of Model 3 can do? 0 to 60 in?
Mine, they just changed it on the website. Now it says 3.3 seconds.
3.3.
But I've seen someone get 3.17 on YouTube. So that's fast. That's stupid fast.
Yeah, it's faster than I need to go.
It pulls almost a G.
Yeah.
It feels like you're falling forward. It's it's a unique experience, especially because you hammer on it. You don't hear the wah, the wind up of the engine, and there's no delay.
Yeah.
It's instant.
That's what I find fantastic. As soon as you touch that pedal, you're going.
Yeah.
Because the
wait.
delay is like microseconds.
Yeah. You don't wait for the transmission to drop a gear and then wind up the engine and then go. No, it's just like bam, and you're going.
Yeah.
And that's really.
Especially I can feel it a lot with my Fusion. If I were to floor it, it takes probably 2.5 seconds before I get that power.
Mm-hmm.
Because you press it down and then the car's like, okay, he wants to go really fast. Okay, let's do all this shit.
Yeah. Well, now I got to downshift into the lower gear, and then I got to rev the engine up to match that, and then we can get it. Once we get into the power band, we can go. Yeah. There's definitely more steps. Whereas, it's one step with electric car. It's all right. You want to go faster, more electrons.
Yeah.
And then the engine or the motor just spins faster because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't think there's a negative to a Tesla. I'm sure there are.
Well,
I can't.
None that are inherent to them. So, a negative, like the biggest negative living in a colder climate, I would say, is just the range loss in cold weather. But that's not, first off, that's not unique to electric cars.
Sure.
It's just easier to fill up and just throw more gas at it. But it takes a little bit more planning. So, yeah. So,
which is just a fundamental change in your mindset is all it is.
Right. Going back to the paradigm shift, like you have to take into account different things. You don't have an engine that's spewing out waste heat. So that it's just, I'll just take some of this and warm the inside of the car up. It's like, no, now I need to use some of my battery power to run a heater.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, that's a good point. Same with the AC, I'm assuming, too, because you got to run the AC.
Well, the AC is actually more efficient than the belt-driven AC in a normal car. So you do see a little bit of range loss, but it's not nearly as much as heating the car.
Okay.
So it's not not terrible in the summertime. It's just when it gets to negative, like today was -7, or not negative, it was 7 degrees out with a feel like of like 3. So the car sat in the parking lot all night. It was cold. I brought it home and I plugged it in, and it didn't even charge for most of the time I had it plugged in there. It was just warming the battery back up.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's cool that it does that. It helps prolong the life of the battery.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, that's probably the biggest drawback. But it's not something you can't deal with.
Yeah.
So, other than that, there's really no downside.
Convincing your parents that it's a good idea.
Yeah, I got some. Probably got some weird looks for that. Mom definitely didn't understand. Why are you doing this? It's stupid.
Have you given her a test drive?
Yeah,
I did.
Driven
her around?
I had to make her promise she wouldn't smack me in the back of the head when I floored it. But yeah, she got a ride. She's like, I just don't understand why anyone would want to go this fast.
Well,
why
granted,
not?
yes, that is true. I mean, do you need to go? No.
No, you don't.
But it's possible. I mean,
but
it's a perk.
Yeah. So the reason why I went for the performance, I checked more boxes than I probably should have, is because I knew I was going to be one of the first people, especially in our family, but in our area, to have a car like this. And I really wanted to be able to show. If you tell someone 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, they don't know what that means.
Yeah.
They don't know how fast their car gets to 60. For all they know, my Toyota Prius could do that. I have no idea. Most people don't, unless they race cars.
I don't even know what mine can do.
Yeah, you'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
I had to look up what my Camaro did.
Yeah.
It's pretty shameful compared to that. But most people don't know. They have to feel that and experience that.
Yeah.
And once you do it, it really...
It's like trying VR for the first time. You're like, oh, this is what it's like.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can't see it watching a YouTube video.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, I'm watching a video game being played. I'm watching a car being driven. Like, even when you see the reaction videos of the Tesla or the $100 challenge where they put a $100 bill on the dash, and if you can reach it, you get it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So, that's, you have to experience it. You have to experience almost a G of force being put on your body.
Yeah.
More than that in the Model S. Even more than that in the new Roadster. Like, I'm super excited for that to come out. I want to experience what the Roadster feels like.
Yeah.
0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
Right.
Even faster than that with the SpaceX version. It's gonna have...
I need some shoulder straps on those car seats now to know how to...
5-point harnesses and roll cages. It's gonna have a SpaceX version.
On top of all this, all those Teslas are still more or safer than any other car on the road.
Yeah, and that's inherent to their design because they have that crumple zone.
Yeah,
it absorbs that impact. It's not just like in a normal car with a big solid engine and
solid steel brick right in
Yeah.
front there. That won't crunch very well.
No, it just passes the concussion onto you.
That
The impact. But yeah, so they've tried to roll a Model X. They rolled it completely on the ceiling, and it just flipped back onto its tires. Like, it was completely upside down, and it's just like, nope. So yeah, like, people have survived ridiculous accidents in these cars and walked away from them.
Yeah.
You wouldn't walk away from like
Anything built before 1990, especially.
Yeah. Well, even like nowadays, they're like 3 out of 5 stars, good enough.
Yeah.
Put it out.
We just won't tell people about it.
Yeah.
When we put the ad on TV, we won't just mention 3 out of 5. We'll just say like, J.D. Power says this is really good.
Yeah. Some guy that you don't care about likes his car, so you should too.
Yeah.
But Tesla, they find the weakest point in their cars, and they work backwards from that. Like let's see where it would cause the most damage or be the most dangerous, and let's fix that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the design on that everything on this car is just like an engineer's dream.
Yeah, it's a marvel of engineering.
Yeah.
And design, like it's not even like safety, yes, but like the coefficient of drag is the lowest of any production car.
Yeah. And it could even be better, but there's safety features you gotta have to have, like the side mirrors.
Right. Yeah, the side mirrors. Damn you, regulations. Yeah, but that'll probably go away, and even the side mirrors were designed to like, okay, if we have to have them, let's make it so that the air flows around it as
nicely.
as best as it can. And yeah, so they're super safe, really fun to drive.
Yeah.
Really efficient.
And you look cool. And they look cool, and the cars do too.
They look cool, yeah.
They
don't look like some sort of alien,
like some kind of
bug-eyed.
what they think the cars are going to look like in the future, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're. And like you said, like it took them 10 years.
And the combustion engine cars have been being made for 100 years.
Yeah, a century.
And it took 10 years to beat it.
Yeah, and they're 20 years, like, getting into a Tesla is like getting into a car that you would expect maybe 20 years from now. There's so much going on in them. Like, going from a Tesla to getting in my Jeep or something, it's like...
It feels very archaic.
Yeah, it's like, there's no regenerative braking.
Yeah.
You turn it on and it's loud and it's, rolling. You gotta wait for it to warm up to get your heat. Or, you floor it or something, and it's like, it feels old.
Yeah.
It feels dated. And that was the...
So what are we going to do with all these? Once everybody gets a Tesla, there'll just be millions of these junked cars.
Well, the